Welcome back, investors. Today, we're going to take a quick look at two exciting markets, Greenville, South Carolina, and Orlando, Florida. And today, I've got Tony Torres with me, and we plan to make a series out of this. We haven't come up with a name for it yet, but we plan to do this every Saturday morning.
Yes, I'm excited about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Just, diving into different real estate markets where we're seeing some growth, but some real potential there that investors can have confidence as they see us diving into just the nuts and bolts of the market.
Yeah, exciting. Now, how do you want to kick it off? I know that you are you're, I think, from Texas, spent a lot of time in Florida and about to move out to Greenville. So how do you want to start it? Do you want to share your screen or do you just want to start talking about Greenville?
We can start talking about Greenville, but a little color. I'm actually from Florida. I spent the first 26 years of my life in Florida, moved to North Carolina. So I lived in Greensboro for 4 years, and then I moved to Texas. So I've got some color there in Texas, the Dallas and Waco markets as well. And then back to Florida, and now getting ready to move to South Carolina. So a lot of movement, but some really fun stuff, and really have a good pulse on these areas. So George, I think the best way to analyze this is really where we're going. So I think that the best way is to just go ahead and start looking at Greenville now. That's a really strong market with a lot of similar and advantageous market presence around it. So I think that's where we should go.
All right, hey, let's do it. And I thought I'd just share my screen. I've got some visuals up. If you got some, we can do that. So one of the things I like to do.
Let's go with yours.
One of the things I like to do is learn the neighborhoods. It's a great way to get started because, I mean, obviously, big differences. If you want to take us through some of these neighborhoods or just start talking and people see the map.
Yep, absolutely. So Greenville obviously is a rather growing metroplex. I like to call it the belt buckle of the real estate belt. It starts out in this area up in the Greenville market, even up towards Knoxville, Tennessee area, and it really comes down through Atlanta, down into like the Jacksonville area, then comes across Orlando into Tampa. And then if you want to include Miami in that, Miami is a beast of its own, but it really just the general shape of it comes down that way. So what we're seeing in the Greenville market is Greenville is a really strong presence. There's a lot of people moving there. There's a lot of tax advantages to being in this area. And then also the affordability of the state compared to others from both a residential and a commercial real estate investment perspective. So some of the areas that I like in the Greenville market is Simpsonville. Simpsonville is actually going to be towards the area that I'll be relocating to. There's a lot of movement going on there, and there's a lot of push, like a path of progress out towards that area. So we're seeing new home builds out there. We're also seeing a lot of retail and shopping and entertainment moving out there as well. So that is an area that I really, really like. Downtown is obviously a really strong area as far as you see a lot of businesses there. So they have some commercial presence there, and I'll provide a little bit more color as I move up there and get to know the area a lot better. But just from the organic movement of my family looking for places to be, a lot of our connections in the area, we see Anderson, Simpsonville, and then out, honestly, we're seeing a lot out towards the Clemson area to be a strong market movement in the Greenville market.
Awesome. And I know there's a lot of things you do when you analyze a market.
Yeah.
One of the ways that we got to know each other, you helped to drive me all over Tampa. And
yes, I did. That was fun.
Yeah. So I know you as somebody who definitely knows how to know their market, but you also do some technological things. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, I really like to try to take things from a really, common sense approach, really understand where businesses are coming, because where businesses are coming, population is coming. So when I look at Greenville, CBRE, they just put out a note that the Greenville area is going to be growing when it comes to fulfillment centers, industrial, that is a huge presence out there. Another strong presence is the population and the economy that's already there. So Michelin and BMW Manufacturing are both in Greenville. These are strong presence for jobs, along with I can count 3 different universities within the Metroplex there. So with Clemson, Bob Jones, and Furman. And then the Citadel is not too far from there. So we have strong evidence of economic growth and economic impact there. Well, what that's going to do, obviously, is bring population growth as well. And another thing that is helping as far as real estate is, and this is something we all know, the pandemic has forced a lot of people, or not forced, as given people the freedom to move south into more tax advantaged states, places that, you know, the climate is better for most people, not wanting to deal with the snow. No offense, George. But people want to get further south just because of the weather, the climate, the ability to work remote. This, as I mentioned before, this entire belt coming south really, I believe, starts up in that Knoxville and then Greenville area. That's the belt buckle. And there's a lot of people moving there to take advantage of the still somewhat affordable real estate prices compared to a state like Florida.
Yeah, those are huge trends, very important. And I'm still here in Michigan, but I'll be headed down towards South Carolina. We'll see how far I get. Got to head to
Yes.
Knoxville. And then, yeah, there's really only 2 ways to go. You got to go around the forest. So you've got to go either east towards Asheville, Greenville, or you've got to go west and you're going to head through Chattanooga. So
Yep.
one of those 2 routes to get to the good weather this weekend.
Absolutely. It sounds like a lot of fun, man. You'll enjoy it. Another one thing that I wanted to point out that makes Greenville really advantageous is its name speaks to its character. When I live in the Tampa area, so down here it's very populated. You know, on the peninsula, so I live on the Pinellas side of Tampa. On the peninsula alone, we have more population per capita, or the density here is almost 3 times as much as the entire Greenville area. So what that does is, as a real estate investor, it makes it to where demand may be high, but your turnovers are high. Your tenant profile, your tenant ratio is going to be a little bit skewed because you have a lot of people here. Houses are unaffordable for the average individual. Well, I shouldn't say unaffordable, but the prices are rising. And working at Zillow, I was able to see that and see, you know, just how the market fluctuates as population growth is moving here. Greenville is on the onward trend of population growth, where a lot of businesses, a lot of people are still moving there, where Florida has already gotten this giant boom of population and economic influx. Does that make sense?
Yeah, awesome. Like getting to the ground floor, huh?
Somewhat. I mean, Greenville is still, it's not at the ground floor level. It's not like coming into to something that hasn't been noticed, but there's just more room for growth there, I believe. Yeah. But what I was speaking about that makes it also attractive is, as I said, the name speaks to its character. There's a lot of nature here, a lot of getting outdoors, hiking. There's a river that flows through the city. It's just a really good area for families. And that's another advantageous thing that we're seeing for people that are migrating down there, is it's a very family friendly city that has plenty of stuff to do for kids, plenty of stuff to do for adults. There's a lot of co-working there. There's a lot of remote work that happens there. Some great lenders are there as well from the real estate lending space. It's just plenty of opportunity that is still untapped, I guess you could call it, within the entire area that makes it advantageous to look at.
Awesome. All right, where do you want to go from here?
Yeah, so I think that really just, tell me about what you're seeing. What is it that you look for when you are analyzing a market like this from a data perspective? Because you're my data guy.
Right. So yeah, just let's back up a second. I think it's really important to do what Tony's doing here. So he says he's coming from the common sense perspective or the intuitive perspective, like driving the area, understanding the area. looking at all those stats and really just getting a feel for it. And I feel it's great to balance that with some data. And I know this is something that you're great at doing with Google Maps, etc.
Yes.
But we didn't really get to that, so I may provide that today. Yeah, here I'm just looking at the some of these nicer areas here. And these may not
Mhm.
be the areas that you're going to necessarily invest in, but they may be the areas that you're going out to eat when you go and look at the area. So I
Right.
always like to get an idea, where are the nicer areas, where are the areas you want to avoid, and then try and figure out where it's gentrifying. And there's so much you can find, right? So
Right.
much you can find. You just, head out to Google Maps, you want to click on each of these neighborhoods and get an idea where the borders are, what are the sites, the landmarks, what are you really looking at? Is it dense, etc.?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, and you can also look for like certain different keys that we see pretty much in every market. So, and this is just trailing off of what I said, and we can look at the data here in a second. But anywhere that there are certain characteristics of an area that are gonna focus on the kind of people that are going to be in that area, I guess you could say, the type of residents, the type of clientele that you'll have, I guess. Greenville has a few exclusive golf courses. So the clientele that's going to be there is going to be a little bit more high end. It's also got 3 decent sized universities. 2 of them are private. One of them is a military university. So there's a large standard that the area has set, and it's really, when I get up there, I'll be able to understand that path of progress and where people are moving to, where the good areas are. And I'll also utilize my network a lot better to be figuring that out and provide value to investors. But this is just to show you like Greenville Country Club right here. So this
Yeah.
area right here is going to cater to your folks that, maybe more on the affluent side, that are able to afford this or run with the people that are in this area. Another thing that we see is you see different types of stores around. Yep, Greenville Country Club, Chanticleer course. I mean, these two go together. So this area right here, this Pleasant Valley, going to be a little bit on the higher end. You can also tell just by looking at this map, like where things are for families to be, families to interact, families to get out and entertain themselves. You have the zoo right here. You have the Falls Park right here. And there's plenty of restaurants and stores and stuff like this. So this area right here is going to be a great place for families to congregate, for families to be and want to live. And then you have downtown Greenville, which is going to be the business district. So you have a lot of banking, a lot of financial institutions are up here. As you can see, a great place for kids. We have the Children's Museum, University Museum right here. I mean, it's plenty of spots for playgrounds and just fun to get outdoors. So it's just to reiterate, it's a very family friendly area. And once I can get more boots on the ground and do some even more digging, especially as this series continues, I'll be able to provide a lot more color to what the area is and the best places to be for growth, not necessarily that are high right now, but that we can see that are going to be looking in that path of progress, which is where I was thinking, Simpsonville, Anderson, these are places that I'm looking. Right now, I'm actually looking at a plot in the Anderson County area, which is in the Greenville market, to do a BTR strategy on. So if that tells you anything, it's near the Michelin. Yep. If you want to zoom out, we can go there. Just type in right here, Anderson County. It's near the, it's near they have a Michelin plant up there. The Michelin, one of their headquarters is up there. And that is really, just take the Greenville out for me.
There we go.
There we go. So as you can tell, it's right in the Metroplex, as you could call it. And if you zoom in for me, keep going. Where's the Michelin? Where's it at? Can you zoom out? All right. Type up here for me.
Yeah.
Type Michelin. Yep. Might have to put a space. Yeah. There we go. There we go. That'll work. It'll take. All right. So just go down really quick and you'll see it down in here. It's down here to the left, I believe. There we go. Okay, so this area right here, there is a lot of, there's some raw land out here that they are in need of housing out here. The county is really not the highest on strict multifamily. They're looking for that mid-income housing to be built out here. So this is an area of opportunity on the BTR side. And if you can get creative multifamily, this is a good opportunity to maybe look at a development play.
So I want to make sure everybody understands BTR.
Yeah, so good question, George. Good question. BTR is built to rent. So basically just a typical development that we're looking to build up, rent it out, and make sure that we can take advantage of any tax abatements or anything like that in the area that provides more housing to the community. Thank you for that question also, George. Another thing that I wanted to point out, just going back, is if you scroll out for me.
You mean you want to go out?
I want to go out. I want to zoom out for me.
Yeah.
If you notice this area, one thing that is always a good sign for people that want to live in an area is the ability to get outdoors, as I iterated earlier. If you notice the lakes around here, these are really popular for people to be out on the lake and have access to nature. This is a huge thing that people are looking to have, whether they're in apartments or in homes. It doesn't really matter. People do not like to be encapsulated by nothing but buildings all the time. So this is another reason why I am bullish on the Greenville market, to be able to take advantage of the natural resources, the natural economy that's going to flow there.
Yeah, some great lakes out here too. I know a lot of them, you can tell just by the shape on the map. They come from damming up the rivers.
They do.
Yeah. And yeah, one that I'd really love to go to, who knows if I'll make it on this trip, but the one that's just north of Atlanta is a whole lot of fun. Let me see if I can remember, what is the name of this one?
Is this it right here?
I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, here it is. It's Lanier. Yeah, that's what it is. I think it's Lake Sidney Lanier.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and again, I think that's also just dammed up river, and then it's a lot like the one you got out there somewhere around Knoxville. There's an awesome lake out there.
It's going to be up here. It's going to be up here, up to your north.
Oh,
and
yeah.
This
whoa.
This is a great segue. This is a great segue into what we were talking about. If you scroll out once you check your lake out, because this is pretty cool. That one looks cool.
It is. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't help it. I'm in trip mode already, Tony.
Hey man.
Yeah, there it is. Cherokee.
That's awesome.
Yeah, beautiful out here. Yeah, I think it was out to this island is where we went. No, it was this group of islands out there. Just amazing. So beautiful.
That's awesome. So do me one more favor, George. This will be the last thing that we touch on before we get into your data of what you're seeing, if that'd be okay.
Sure.
So let's go as far out as we can, but staying in the region.
Okay.
Yep. So if you notice, this is another very attractive piece to why I'm bullish on Greenville. So look at the cities that are near it. We have Charlotte up to the northeast, which is about 3 hours away. You have Greensboro, Winston-Salem, that's about 4 hours away. You have Knoxville, Tennessee up here, to the northwest. That's about 2.5, 3 hours away. And then you have this really small city down here that I think is just a gem that, no one really talks about. It's called Atlanta. It's down here to the southwest. And it's just really easy access to these giant metroplexes that you don't have to live in, but it's easy for commerce. It's easy for fulfillment. As you can see, to get from Charlotte to Atlanta, you're going to have to go through Greenville. So this is a great pivot point, a great transition area between these four markets, not even talking about Charleston, Hilton Head, and Augusta right here that are more your secondary markets. So this is why I'm bullish on the area. I know down here in Florida where I'm at right now, Tampa's really secluded over here on the western side of the state. You can't go any further west, you'll be in the water. So you have to go east. So it's really not a connector of any kind. It's really not a a bridge, if you will. It's really just an end all be all, which is great for your tourism. It's great for business down here because of the taxes and the benefits to being in Florida, obviously. But I really see the benefit, the strong benefit for this area, from its affordability. And I say affordability very, very loosely. It's just not as high as Florida is right now. And you can take advantage of its location geographically between these giant metroplexes, that is obviously going to see traffic.
Yeah, awesome. Great stuff. Great stuff. Well, as we transition over, one of the things I'd like to show everybody here is that there's a great new series called the Nest Egg Builders. I'm going to be on there in a couple of days.
Very cool.
Let me see if I can grab that. Here it is, the Nest Egg Builder. So they started this series a few weeks back, and I should be there. What is it? It's going to be March 1st, and I believe that's a Tuesday. Yep. Tuesday, March 1st, 5 p.m. So go check it out. A lot of great real estate insight and insight for your passive investors. So I'll show you a little bit about what I may be presenting there, but definitely come out here and subscribe. So back to Greenville. Yeah, and obviously Tony could take you through this, but I decided to work up a little presentation. If you have been to Neil Bauer's Real Focus course, this is a great way to get started for any city, and you can find that. Whoops, I was supposed to have the link up here, but it's really easy to find. So just type Real Focus at Udemy. Yep, best cities for real estate investing. You look this up, get the spreadsheet. And this is one of the things I like to do when I analyze a market. So I'm coming from outside the market. I'm investing in Central Florida. I'm investing in East Tennessee. So maybe not too far from Greenville.
Right.
But again, I don't have that intuitive understanding, and this is a great way to get started. So I modified his methods a little bit. I added on a little bit. I like to see not just the population in 2000 and 2020, but also in between to get that elbow.
Right. I like that. Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. And so if you look at something like, say, Johnson City, that's grown about 28% since 2000. But look at the elbow there. That's gone straight up. Greenville, all of its growth has occurred mainly in the last 10 years. And so you can see that the trajectory here is a lot sharper in Greenville. So I think it's really important to graph your data out. And that's something that gets left out if you're just taking your 30,000 foot view like this.
Right.
So I'm trying to, take these methods, which are, by the way, really amazing and bedrock for me, and then just move it up a little. And if you go through the course and it's really fun, I don't want to go through his course because you can get that from him. Just head out to city data and you'll find all these data points. You find the income growth, the home value growth, and the crime trend. And I've just added some spark lines here. I just think that's a fun way to look at the trend and get the idea, is it coming straight down like it is in Fort Worth, Texas? Or do you have maybe a more interesting story like Grand Junction, Colorado? Give you some idea of what the locals might be thinking about crime, whether it's something receding into the rear view window, or is it something that you actually have to maybe concern that maybe it's coming back. And this comes from the Department of Numbers. So all free data sources, really fun course, something I enjoy doing quite a bit as a first order approximation.
Yes.
Again, come out to city data, but I would say go deeper than that. I mean, his course, I would say, is amazing if you want to pick a market. But once you're in that market, you really need to know your neighborhoods, and he can take you through that too. And that's great. But there are certain things that you don't really get to unless you completely dig in. And I would like to look at crime for a second. And here's a real good one, because a lot of times you might see a neighborhood that's high crime, but if you look around it and the crime is lower, right? It's one thing to be in the middle of a crime ocean, but if you're kind of on the edge of it, that may be a sign that things are ready to gentrify.
Right.
And one of the great things about these heat maps, everything goes from white to a color. So if it's crime, it's going to be purple. And all you got to do here is just, yeah, dig in a little bit, hopefully give yourself a little real estate on the screen and just, yeah, just go straight in there and take a look. And what I like to do is I like to find those nicer areas and sort of correlate it and see, oh yeah, I can see, yeah, like out here would be like, I think this is around Haney Syrian, somewhere out here, and then you got your Cleveland Park. That's supposed to be a nicer area. Yes, there is less crime out there than some of the some of the adjoining areas. And then you have
Right.
some really low crime areas out here as things get a little bit sparser.
Yes. Yes. And to your point, this is so valuable, George, that I think that, more investors should take this into account, me included, because I don't usually use Neighborhood Scout, but I think that this is something that I'm going to start using. But, this is why I'm really bullish on the Anderson, Simpsonville area, because I think that the population, we're starting to see more people move that way. We're starting to see, people that necessarily don't want to be close to downtown. They just want to have access to downtown. That's why I think that we're seeing these lighter colors in these areas.
Perfect. Yeah. If you've got the opportunity, if you can choose, why wouldn't you move maybe 10 minutes away and enjoy a nicer area and
Right.
still enjoy the city? So here's your country club area that you pointed out earlier, and the other golf course in the area, Chanticleer.
Yep.
Of course, you're seeing some lighter purple out here. It's significantly less dangerous. And you also have to take a quick look out here and understand that what we're looking at here, it's always with respect to the worst areas in that metro. Okay.
Right.
So you got to understand, if you're looking at a high crime area and you have a sub area there that's maybe like mid crime, that's different than looking at, the mid crime area if you have a high crime city.
Right. Exactly. So, I mean, to your point, as we can see here in Greenville, we do have some areas that are of concern, especially these darker purples right here. They're right next to each other.
Yeah.
So these are areas that I don't believe in totally discounting, though, because there is opportunity there. Where there are challenges, there are opportunity. So I would never discount these as potential, because you can find some really creative deals here. But this is, generally speaking, where your lower crime levels are going to be, where your safer areas for your kids, for your family to be. And a lot of times you can use this for your own personal residence as well. So imagine investing somewhere as if you were going to live there as well. But do not discount the darker shades, because sometimes you can find opportunity in these areas and you can be on the cutting edge of making the change to the lighter colors.